Okay, good evening. So here we are again. I'm still testing something regarding with what I have for this stream and for the future ones. Still, either that I need to change the position of my electric fan or do some breeze blocking with my mic. Or maybe I'll just go through this and think of something else to make the stream. But either way, okay, let's get started. So I believe I've left off during the college days. I believe I mentioned that unlike high school and elementary, well, you just have to go to the previous stream regarding the old education system here in Asian Mexico. But either way, so well in college, yes. So I believe I mentioned that during college, I was more free, and I still rent. I still go to a console shop in which they lend the consoles as well as the available games that they have. And it just so happened that since that was in 1998, and it was a 1 year since the PlayStation 1 has launched. So yeah, I perhaps Final Fantasy VII is not the first JRPG that I played. I'm not even aware that time what JRPG is. So I'm not really that knowledgeable in the old Western RPG games. So of course for the first year of college nothing extraordinary. As usual, I had to go to classes, of course, with respective subjects. And then back then, recently, they have abolished the ROTC. Uh, I believe it's still easy to search via googling. ROTC. It is supposed to train the college students, prepare them for well impending war. I believe this is similar, if not the same, with the South Korea's mandatory military training when they reach a certain age. But then, enough of that. It was the second year in which so second year, that would be 1999. Um, I believe, as I mentioned in the past trip, I still like animated the shows, and the stigma of the animated shows back then. Perhaps it still holds true today for some people, namely boomers, in which only kids watch those. But then I wasn't really that sharp. So maybe if I were to go back then, if the animated shows are for kids only, then why do they have to take the trouble to censor. Ah, yes, 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 to censor. Uh, yeah, Rama One Hub. It has some mild nudities. They had to censor that. I believe they also showed Evangelio that time, or was it late 2000s? Mind you, this is aired in this is Asian Mexico, so it's a little late compared to the other countries, namely the US. And so maybe I like to share something in which a certain documentary show. I'm not going to mention the name of the show, in which they finally tackled on the off-brand. Oh, for those who doesn't know what off-brand is that I am mentioning, just watch a few lost pause of vids, and then will arrive to what I mean. So going back, and also, and along with that, going back, because this was during my high school days. I think that was third year, in which this documentary show featured this off brand. Uh, they were so shocked that these animated shows that are supposed to be for kids are adult themed. It's that they can't accept that this show for kids should have adult content. They were really shocked. They were really furious. And so, what was their conclusion? That this animated shows, these off brands, are many times worse than your most hardcore triple X uh, prawn. Yeah, that's what they thought back then. Yeah, so, and I suggest you let that sink in, especially in current year. Yeah. So again, going back to college, of course, back then, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it the last stream. I'm actually too shy to rewatch it actually, because including this stream, that streams are going to suck or sucks. So I mentioned that back in college, there were a lot of computer shop business that was a very popular, for the lack of term, because perhaps in the US 4 years then 4 years ago, so that would be, I think, 1995. There will be a lot of LAN parties in which you play, what was it, Doom, Quake, Starcraft, Warcraft. But then in Asian Mexico, it took off pretty well around, I think, the 2000s. And mind you, 2000s was, the Y2K bug scare. Uh, but of course, computer shops existed prior to that, but it exploded because, I think, Counter Strike, and then, the Counter Strike. Today it is known as CS:GO, but back then it is just a simple Half-Life mod. And back then we were playing Half-Life via LAN, and then also those were also the time. I'm not sure if it was 1999 or 2000, in which a certain channel heavily promoted anime. Yeah. So is that finally the time where I started being a weeb? Maybe. I believe that's where they started airing shows like Flame of Recca, and then the re-airing of Ghost Fighter, aka Yu Yu Hakusho. Uh, Along with them, Master Mosquito, and also from another government TV channel, they've also re-aired Voltes 5. I believe you can look it up. Voltes 5 is very popular here in Asian Mexico, even now. Uh, People who are around 50s today and lower as in maybe 30 years old, uh, most of them will know Voltes 5. I believe you can search through Google how popular it is, this mecha anime here in Asian Mexico. And I believe some other countries have their own, for the lack of term, national anime. I think France was Grandizer. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe if I try to find the Japanese YouTube vid regarding those, maybe I can find something. And if I feel like it, perhaps we can make it a topic in the future streams. So yeah, those were the times, and well, I'm not sure if it was 1999 or 2000s. That was there was this first anime convention held in Asian Mexico, and then I, I believe the first time that they invited a guest from overseas, namely Japan, the author of back then Fushigi Yugi. Not sure if anybody's familiar with that Fushigi Yugi, aka I'm not sure how it was localized in the West, but it is known here as a curious play. Well, a direct, hmm, a semi-direct translation, if I may, and that also made Ayashi no Seres. That would be Yuwatase, and then well, I cannot say for certain that this is the first, but this is the first popular anime convention in which, of course, they held a cosplay competition. Well, back then, they had a winner. He cosplayed Saito Hajime from Rurouni Kenshin, also known as Samurai X. Not sure in the West though. And then I've been going to those conventions if I can, because well, back then I didn't have that much money, though the fare is still cheap. And then I had to really save the money to go to those conventions. And merchandise, forget it. I don't have that much money. Then after 2000s, I think I was able to join a an anime community forum. Those were the days we spent a lot of time just posting anything anime related. Then of course back then there were waifus. Among my first were Love Hina. Then there's Maison Ikoku. What else? Then there's Ice, DNA 2. Yeah, those were the first in manga and anime form. I remember back then that I spent the whole night just reading the manga. I would do so with some games as well, like certain single player campaigns of RTSs. So yeah, I was into that, and then and then back then that was also the time that I also played more RPGs like Square Soft games. Back then, they were not Square Enix, so I played Xenogears. Uh, was is that only it? Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to play Xenosaga, Xenoblade. Too bad. Eventually, and what else? Then there's also Tales of Destiny, then Tales of Destiny 2. Only later I found out that Tales of Destiny 2 localized is not actually the Tales of Destiny 2 in Japan, but it is actually Tales of Eternia. At least those yeah, there's also Wild Arms. Wild Arms 1 and 2 was great, but 1 unfortunately I wasn't able to finish it because I'm stuck with a puzzle, and it turns out that the clue was useless as it there was a proper that there was improper localization of the puzzle. At least those improper localization was still tolerable than the one that we get today. And what else? It's hard getting old. Maybe what else did I play back then? Well, of course, I also played the Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Of course, that is not a RPG, but a Metroidvania. So yeah, that is where I started a being. That's where I started actively being a weeb. Yeah. Uh, Back then, I really enjoyed the attending anime conventions, especially those with cosplay. I had to take pics as much as possible, and show to the world that well, perhaps there are that hey, we also have cosplay here. Take a look. You might like it, and start posting them in the forum back then. And well, it was fun times. I had acquaintances that I had that I had to share the hobbies, and those were also and then that was also the time that I believe that was past 2000s. That the first MMORPG here in Asian Mexico. Oh, and by the way, internet was scarce back then. So so 1998, maybe the West or other first world countries already have a DSL. We had to stick to 50K modem or worse, and then the usual that well, we had a phone, but we have to use that. When we have to use it for the internet, it would suck if somebody used the phone without giving any regard. But well, who would? So that's why I usually use the internet during the wee hours, aka midnight. So that at least that would mean that there will be less interruptions. Of course, since 56 moved in, there would be interruptions if somebody called. So that's another advantage of surfing the net during the wee hours. Just imagine the download speed back then is 4.7 kbps. Yeah, compare it to today in Asian Mexico. Uh, we can have 35 mbps. So consider how far we've come. Far. Yeah, right, far. And going back, so despite that 56K modem, I still managed to play the first MMORPG back then. Of course, this is not Japan based. This is Korean based, Ragnarok Online, and we had to rent a lot because of high latency, lags, and of course, they also have their own convention in which I've attended as much as I can. And also they have their whole forms. So back then, there wasn't a dedicated social media like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So there were really some dedicated. There were many dedicated forums for those topics. Back then, they this provided this these web services provided free hosting so that anybody can host a forum. And and also there comes to a point that there was this thesis in college. So of course we had to propose a software. It could be anything, games, but it's really hard proposing something that they can accept and that is doable. It's either that it's doable but unacceptable, and vice versa. So that is the reason in which the course that I took is only supposed to take 4 years, but it took me seven, and then there are those 3 blank years. So of course that would come to haunt me in every job hunting that I did later on. So what did I do during those 3 years? But then let's go let's go back a maybe 1 to 2 years before that, or maybe just 1 year. Well, just in case somebody watch this later, I would like to apologize for going back and forth in my timeline because this is impromptu. I don't do much preparing. Perhaps in the future, maybe if I do, if I really am serious in making the streams like the popular ones out there, maybe I could. So then I'm not sure what interested me in Japanese language. I mentioned earlier that I played Super Robot Wars back then. I have difficulty reading those character symbols, but would you? But then, would you believe it? I did not use much walkthrough, but then I finished those games, the Super Robot Wars games. Back then, that there was a Super Robot Wars Neo, Super Robot Wars Alpha, and then the Alpha Gaiden. Of course, not entirely without walkthrough. And also back then, there were scarce resources for Japanese dictionary and the materials. So I had so I actually uh, made a list of hiragana and katakana for each syllables on my own. I didn't really memorize them, but then uh, I I think it helped me to recognize some characters. Of course, back then I really suck at kanji. Yeah, really suck. So I guess that is also a part of me being actively a weeb. Then eventually I had to I get a lot of immersion watching anime. We we had for some reason we our cable TV were able to get the signal. Wow wow, it's a Japanese channel. uh, it's not really easy back then, but still I was able to watch midnight anime. I believe back then was Vandred, Maburaho, Girls Bravo, Full Metal Panic, Geon Riders. But then for some reason that cable company thought it would be nice to replace the channel with a CS a crime channel or something. Well, that sucked back then. And there was this Southeast Asian cable channel that back then also aired a lot of anime shows like Cooking Master Boy or better known as Chuka Ichibang. You know, the one of the first, if not the first, cooking cooking show like today, Food Wars. Uh, they also showed Van Red, uh, Gatekeepers. What else? Strange Dawn. What else? Strange Dawn. Shin Hakenden. Yami no Matsue, aka Dark Descendant. The one that I mentioned earlier, that was made by Yu Watase, Ayashi no Ceres. And well, also Curious Play, and then a lot more. But then eventually, then Animax came, and unfortunately, our the cable company on our region does not support Animax. So yeah, yeah, sucks to be me then. Sucks to be stuck in that place. Sure. So yeah, a lot of this is also a tip from learning any language. You need to get used to the language first. You need to be immersed that it comes so naturally, and then if you hear them, if you hear the words a certain number of times, or let's say too many times, you'll be able to know what that means. You can you can um you can cross check the subtitles to what they are saying eventually. I'm not sure how long uh, it it took me to do that, but of course I wasn't able to speak. uh, I was able to understand, but understanding and speaking and perhaps writing is way different. Just because you understand does not mean you can use it. You can use it efficiently. And well, it really sucks back then that we barely have Japanese language resources. And of course, the college that I was attending do not absolutely do not have such resource. So yeah, it's mostly self-study then. So where was I? So what else I am going to tell? I'm almost out of time. So yeah, I'm really glad that we'll be having part three of this. But I'll try to talk about this as much as possible. So yeah, around so of course I graduated, and then I had a my first job. Then I only stayed for 6 months because the remaining 3 months I have to do at least, take note, at least 2 hours of travel time, and that is not yet back and forth, mind you. Perhaps that's what the situation calls. I can't really exactly blame them. And besides, I don't think uh, I'm going to apply what I have learned during college, which is computer science. Computer science means programming. Oh, and by the way, I may not have gone to college if professional video gaming was an option back then. I don't think there were cyber Olympics something back then. So I had to take a course in which is dear to which is a close closer to my hobby, which is video games, so computer science. So those were the days back then. Maybe if I graduated computer science, I can make games by myself. Who knows? But do you know how it is today? Although technically, yes, you can make it yourself, but the the high budgeted games there will uh, it makes it more complicated to actually make video games. Yeah. So yeah, well, going back, I was looking for a job that will enable me to use what I've learned during college. But unfortunately, that's really not the case. And then and then I am not sure how how I came across a the Japan Foundation here in Asian Mexico, in which they provide the Oshaberi Salon, in which anybody who is interested in Japanese can have a practice a conversation with the back then they were uh, sort of a jets. Uh, I believe every week they allot their time to talk so that and then do some activities so that we'll get used to at least speak. Back then, I really suck at speaking, um, especially I didn't know how to use the particles. Along with that, I did take a total of 60 hours of class, and honestly, uh, if you are really going to learn the language, the Japanese language, 60 hours is not enough. At least the lesson being taught in those hours is not enough, definitely. So that's why there is also a an intense course for 5 months. If I'm not mistaken, you have to attend that I think 8 hours a day, weekday for 5 months, because they will. I'm not sure how they teach, but the one thing for sure, they are very strict on writing the characters, especially the kanji. Well, honestly, I can barely write kanji since I work I work and do things using computers. I only type them. Yeah, but they will going back. That's intense, and of course they are divided into proficiencies from N5 being the lowest to N1. Yeah, back then. So maybe this would be the good time to end this with one last story from me. So of course, being involved in the language. So again, part of my weeb of being active as a weeb back then. Just thought that well, I don't really mind uh, reading the subtitles. Uh, I mean, I don't really. really mind in watching watching anime without subtitles for such reason. It's just that back then, if you're going to watch that, at least you need to know the language, something like that. I do not remember. I don't even think that was the exact reason, but maybe there's a little pride regarding that. And so, more immersion, a few studies, and a few conversations here and there. And then back then, well, I mentioned earlier N5 to N1, but I believe was it 2010? I'm not sure. What is 2010 or 2011? Because prior to that N5, N1, they had EQ, NIQ, SANQ, YONQ. So they only had four levels of a proficiency. Now, the reason that they have divided it into five later and claimed that this that system, that testing would measure the proficiency better than the previous one. The previous one, there's NIQ and SANQ. Uh, there's a big gap between those, and then that's where the N3 comes in the new proficiency system. Of course, eventually, with the credentials I have, of course, I do not have any programming language whatsoever. Well, my career is kind of a wreck back then. So I had to take some measures, and considering what I have done those past years, I had to take an exam, the proficiency exam. Now, what happened with that exam? I think I'll let you know in the next stream. So I think I'll give you a clue what happened. So until then, this is a Ron type signing off. それではお疲れ様でした。それまでお先に失礼いたします。では、じゃあね。